Good morning, Malta and Gozo, and welcome to another episode of Lovin Daily. I'm Yannick Parch, and I'm joined by Jean-Paul Azzopardi for today's episode, which will also include an interview with performing artist Jeremy Grech, who recently launched a petition regarding the government's COVID response and how the pandemic has affected the sector. So stay tuned for that. In the meantime, these are our headlines for today. Malta has fallen to second place in the Eurovision odds following the first dress rehearsal yesterday. A former Maltese Army staff sergeant has been revealed to have had a romantic relationship with a drug kingpin at the time of his murder back in 2015. After being faced with the prospect of a full hysterectomy, a young Maltese woman has urged others not to shy away from getting tested. Bolt CEO was fired days after resigning his directorship of the company due to opposing views with shareholders. And Bernard Grech has taken a serious hit in the latest National Voter Confidence Survey published over the weekend.
Yes, so the biggest story of yesterday, I think, was all eyes were on Destiny last night as she came out for her Eurovision dress rehearsal in a pink tasseled outfit and some kinky boots on. The performance generated a lot of reactions, both positive and negative in equal measure, with some saying it was a great representation of the song Je me casse, empowering message, and others saying it looked tacky and cheap. I know my Facebook feed was just, everyone just like screenshots of Destiny in her pink outfit. I didn't know what to make it at the time. I mean, again, Lovin Water spoke to a person of the production team and said it's just a dress rehearsal. Yeah. It's not clear whether she's actually wear this, for the semi-finals or the finals of the Eurovision. But nonetheless, the reactions were mixed. People loved it, people hated it, and either way, the odds makers didn't seem to favor it too much because Malta dropped down to second place after staying in first place for quite some time in the terms of odds to win Eurovision. But now France coming ahead. So it seems like Destiny's outfit wasn't taken too well by official odd makers and the consensus they generated from the reactions. But then again, this is a dress rehearsal. Speaking after, in an interview, Destiny said she felt confident in it. She chose that outfit specifically because she liked it and it made her feel good. And frankly, why not? If she feels comfortable in it and she feels confident in it, and I say go for it. But maybe we'll see something else for the final thing.
What do you think, though? Are you on team love or hate?
I didn't really have an opinion on it, to be honest with you. I didn't love nor hate it. I'm just going to wait until the actual Eurovision. I think her voice will matters more than her outfit. And Destiny's got an amazing voice, and I have full confidence in her. So we'll just wait and see until next week. I believe 17th May, Eurovision semi-finals begin. So we'll just have to wait and see.
So on to our second story. Former army sergeant has been revealed as having had a romantic relationship with drug kingpin Raymond Caruana at the time of his murder in 2015. Sources have spoken to Lovin Malta have said that have named Carmen Parch as the former staff sergeant who was in a relationship with Caruana at the time of his murder back in 2015. Caruana had been found with a total of 30 rounds fired at him by an unknown assailant back in March of that year. Parch, who retired from the army in 2015, was also at one point stationed with the Malta Security Services, but was removed over major concerns about her on behalf of the army's top brass. It isn't exactly clear what these concerns were, though she was removed from the Malta Security Services. She was not removed from the army, however. In fact, she retired a few years later. Caruana is believed to have been a major player in the drugs world before his death in 2015, and is believed to have been the person to trigger a series of gangland kind of murders between 2011 and 2015. Quite a
shocking find, especially when you see that Carmen Parch had apparently been promoted just months after Caruana's murder, and that apparently reports indicate that the AFM knew about this relationship. I would say shocking, but to be honest, in Malta it's become kind of somewhat standard. I mean, we have people in the army who've killed civilians, so it comes to somewhat no surprise in day, actually, to be honest with you. But what it did trigger was, or at least what Caruana's death triggered was, a kind of void in this kind of criminal underground world, and it's believed that it was exploited by Robert and Adrian Ajus, who are the Talmaksa brothers, who are now linked to the Daphne Caruana Galizia murder. But Carmen Parch is now out with a pension and
I mean,
reaping all the benefits of that. So
it's worth noting that Lovin Malta has also been told that police believe that there are many leaks and informants and moles within the Malta police force, and presumably the security service and other entities that have been providing information to the Maksas and others. So it remains to be seen whether this is linked in that way.
Yeah, well, yeah.
We'll see.
We'll see. And moving on to our third story now regarding a young Maltese woman who is being faced with the possibility of a full hysterectomy. And with that being said, she now is urging other women to get tested regularly and not take their health for granted. Ex-licorice contestant Gabrielle Malia, who is just 26 years old, took to social media to shed light on her story. Basically what happened was she used to go for regular smear tests, which are also known as cervical screenings, and she realized that actually she hadn't gone for a couple of years, decided to get a routine checkup, and doctors had found some abnormalities. Okay. So they brought her in a couple of weeks later to conduct further tests, and turned out that she did have some kind of beginning symptoms of or strains of cancer. Obviously, it's not the news you want to hear. I mean, doctors told her, listen, like we're kind of, assessing the situation now, but you could face a full hysterectomy, which means she might not be able to have children in the future. And she's only 26 years old. Now, had she not done this smear test, who knows where it could have gone? It could have gone much worse. It would have gone much worse if she didn't go get tested. So her appeal is basically, women out there, don't take your health for granted, and get tested regularly. And I think this message also applies for men.
I was about to say, I think it's very relatable to everyone, kind of that's avoiding going to the doctor sometimes when you feel that you might need to, and it's an important reminder not to.
Yeah. I haven't been to doctors in years, and
maybe due for a checkup is.
Absolutely overdue for a checkup. So important reminder for sure.
On to our next story. Bolt CEO Seb Ripard was fired days after resigning his directorship of the company as a result of opposing views with shareholders. The man who has become whose face has become synonymous with Bolt Malta was fired last month after resigning from the company's board of directors. As a result of these disagreements, Ripard was the CEO of TXF Tech, the parent company of the ride-sharing app Bolt. He was also the country manager for Bolt Food here in Malta. Speaking to Lovin Malta, Ripard said that early this year there were significant matters which he had opposing views to shareholders about. He said that since he had these views, he obviously resigned the directorship of the company, but was fired shortly after as a result of it. He says he still has not been given a reason for this. In January this year, the company had come under fire over its employment practices, where it was revealed that many of the drivers were having very, very hefty commissions taken from their salary by the recruitment company. It isn't clear whether this is what these opposing views were about, but I mean it's definitely happened at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean it's been going on for a few months now. I think back since last November when the issue was raised that Bolt had increased its commission it was going to take from these riders. They weren't happy about it, obviously, so they reached out to media houses, including Lovin Malta, to complain. And apparently, according to the government and the finance ministry and whatnot, these contracts that they were bound to are currently being investigated for, whether they're legal or not, because it is quite a dubious contract, and it is quite takes advantage at least of these third world nationals who come here to earn a living. And Lovin Malta actually reported a couple of weeks ago that apparently, government authorities are still looking into this, but it seems like it's long overdue that, these contracts need to be fixed and something needs to be done to protect the employees.
The law needs to be adjusted to
exactly.
caters for this type of...
Food couriers here, it's kind of a new thing, and these new contracts, and it's not really precedent for it. So we'll just have to see where it goes. So moving on to our last story now concerning the PN and the PL, as Jeremy Grech takes a serious hit in the latest voter confidence survey. According to a survey by Malta Today, the PN leader's trust rating is now at 25.7%, dropping by 10%. It is actually his worst result since becoming PN leader in September 2020. The party also lost support, dropping to 30%, the same level when Grech took over the party last September, so kind of back to where he was a few months ago. On the other hand, the Labour Party have made some significant gains, enjoying around 44.8% of support, according to the survey. Robert Abella's trust rating have increased to 49.6%, and the gap between the parties, according to the survey, is now at the 39,000 voter mark. This comes in the context of a number of things. Obviously, the Labour Party are enjoying the success of a really good vaccination campaign. Malta is one of the best in the world in terms of single doses handed out to its population. We're expected to reach herd immunity by next month. Over 30s are now getting the vaccine, so we're way ahead of schedule, and it seems to be good, and obviously that benefits the Labour Party and the Health Ministry. On the other hand, the PN is kind of dealing with a number of spats in the party. Adrian Delia, Jason Natsapadi, and recently a mysterious hack into its system, which kind of ended up going nowhere. So you can kind of see where these numbers are coming from.
Yeah, in fact, I think yesterday Bernard Grech even said that he acknowledged that the latest spat between sort of Adrian Daly and Jason Natsapadi had affected the party in the polls. It must come as a great disappointment, because the last few surveys have had sort of Grech and PN increasing steadily. It remains to be seen. I guess these surveys can change quite drastically when there's
an election. With an election coming up, it's
so we'll see.
Quite critical. We'll see. Okay, so with that being said, we're now going to cut to a quick cutaway video, and then come back with an interview with Jeremy Grech, a performing artist who started a petition for all the struggling artists and performers in Malta.
Hemda minar melodija. Hemda minar spettaklu. Hemda minar immaġinazzjoni. Hemda minar kulur. Kienet deċa għalina. Ma t-tokki ta' nofs il-lejl li feġġew minn torri donnu apokaliptiku xterdet hemda maddi. Kollox inbidel. F'ħakkatajn. Id-dinja sfaxxiet fix-xejn. U snin ta' ħidma intremew, taru marriħ. Isħab tas sema bħal vapur beda jbaħħar il-ġewwa. Il-vapur fil-baħar beda jsaħħab u jniġġes il-madwar. L-ajruplani fi smewwiet saru safar imbezza, u la safar imbezza tqalu. Saru taċċom. Id-dawl tat-teatru intefa', is-separju inala, il-palk ma jidirx. Is-siġġu tal-ispettatur baqa' vojt. Il-mużiċisti qas kellhom l-opportunità li jintunaw. Iż-żeffina birdu. Ibbiesu. Kliem il-kittieb saru trab. Kollox siket. Imma mhux kollox mitmum. Bħal Kristu fuq is-salib wara l-mewt irxoxta b'saħħa li ma bħala. Għaliex waqt li qegħdin ġewwa niklu l-ħobża ta' kuljum, imkaħlin ma' kaxxa li tirrifletti kuluri movumentati bejn talba oħra il-kaxxa tal-artist li tintela melodiji, stejjer, lirika, ċaqliq u emozzjoni. Aħna ma waqafniex, mhix fid-dem tagħna. Għax kull idea bħal fjamma tinxtiret mal-ġisem kollu. Il-linka tal-kittieb baqgħet friska. Il-vuċi tas-soprana baqgħet b'saħħitha. Il-karattri tal-artist baqgħu ħajjin. L-instrumenti tal-mużiċisti baqgħu melodjużi. Il-movimenti taż-żeffina baqgħu irfinati, il-martell tal-mastru daxxa baqa' ibes. Il-labra tal-kostumista baqa' tniffet u l-viżwal tad-direttur baqa' persistenti. Għaliex għalkemm id-dinja waqfet iddur, ix-xemx baqgħet tiżreġ u titma' l-fjuri. Għalkemm il-baħar sfaxxa dimotivat, ir-riħ baqa' jimbotta u jifforma il-mewġ. Mewġ li ma kull fejn imiss beda jħalli herba b'rima. Rima li kisret u ikkankrat kull mem, għax f'moħħ ikkultivat tal-kreatur ħadd ma jafx hemm. Tħallinix insiru artisti ta' trap. Din mhijiex talba għall-għajnuna. Din hija għajta għall-arti.
Welcome back to Lovin Daily. We're now joined by Jeremy Grech. Jeremy,
Hello.
thank you for joining us. Jeremy's a performing artist. You just saw him on your screen now, actually delivering his powerful poem about the art scene in Malta
Yes.
and the COVID situation and government's lack of response to the art scene and whatnot. Things have changed since then, but
Yes.
But can you please explain? You had started a petition
Yeah.
for artists and performers in Malta. It received over 1,000 signatures on it. It was called a Call for Art. Can you explain a bit about what all that was?
So it actually started out as a small Facebook post. It was a rant. And it kind of blew up and it did really well. And in a way, I felt like, okay, I think, carry it on. I should do something with it. If it did this well, the response was good. So why not take it a step further? Then we did a small post where artists try to support each other by tagging each other, posting photos of days gone by when we missed theatre. And then I decided, okay, let's try the petition out. The petition was quite a success. We reached 1,000 in about a week. And then we managed to get a meeting with Jose Herrera, the minister. We went there, we asked, we told him, look, the point of this is that we need a date. We need a plan.
So a date for when the arts is going to come back, right?
Yes.
So the petition was kind of an appeal for the government to
give us a plan.
To give you a plan.
Because that is the arts, we need a plan. If he tells us, look, we're going to open the theatres tomorrow, that doesn't really make sense for us. We need rehearsals, we need to write scripts, we need to cast people, lighting, sound. It's a whole procedure. So we need a plan. That's why then the next day, luckily, we got a plan for it and we got a date, which is the 7 Giugno.
Exactly. 7 June, arts and theatres comes back to Malta in one shape or another. But obviously this is after over a year now of the arts community struggling because of the COVID-19 pandemic. How has it been like for you, an artist, the past year?
It's, let me be honest, 2020 wasn't that bad. We've had the companies, the theatres, they were adapting for a hybrid version of the arts. We tried to go online. We had performances being screened. We had a lot of kind of an R&D sessions where we were developing shows for a future date. But then when 2021 came by, everything sort of died down. People got demotivated. They saw that online theatre is not the same. We needed a stage. And apart from that, from early 2021, shows were being postponed. So shows in October were postponed to 2022. And up to a certain point, you kind of understand why that happened. Because, you cannot make a profit with the 30% capacity of a theatre.
Right.
It's not worth it. And there's also the risk of actors going back into quarantine, back into a lockdown. Most performers in Malta, we don't get paid for rehearsals. We get paid for the shows. So if I'm doing 3 months of rehearsals and my payday is show day, and show day is not done because of the pandemic, we went into lockdown, then there's no pay. So 3 months of petrol, late night food, it's actually all wasted money.
Goes to waste,
yeah.
So what have performing artists like yourself been doing to keep yourself occupied, to keep yourself busy, to keep yourself earning an income over the past few months? Have people managed to adapt to the situation?
I think as Maltese, we like to adapt. We're not people who just sit around and do nothing. I don't think it's in our nature. It's historically proven that poplu biżel. So we don't stop. Me, for myself as an artist, I took this kind of 2-year gap in a way as an opportunity to go back to school and study tour guiding because I wanted to do something with theatre and history, so they're both mashed together. But apart from that, it's mostly been writing. We're developing shows, thinking, okay, maybe this could go then, and then. But the problem is, a lot of shows from 2020 have been postponed. And there were a lot of shows that were supposed to happen in 2021 and 2022. So up till now, I think the biggest struggle is not going back. It's scheduling out all of these performances, when this is going to happen, when we're going to bring that back. So there might be a little confusion for the start until we know what's going on.
So there's a lot, it seems like, prepared and in the works for when things reopen. How do you expect the reopening to go on 7th of June? Do you expect it to be full-on back to theatres? I mean, obviously the capacity is going to be limited and stuff, but is it going to be from the get-go shows starting 7th of June, or is there a time for, like you said, for people to prepare to get ready maybe like dust off the rust, you know, or
Yes, there are certain shows I think which are already ready to go, and but I think the main issue is people do want to go back to theatres, but with bars also being open, I think most of the money is going to go
Right.
into drinking.
Right.
So I'm not sure how many people we're going to get when it comes to an audience. It's also a sense of trust. Is it safe to go to the theatre? How do I feel watching a performance? Is there anyone going to be next to me? Is that person vaccinated? I think it will take some time to get back into how it was in 2019.
And do you think the government supported artists these past few months? I
We
mean,
had
obviously the petition was
yes.
in response to a lack of support, but I mean, has it been, what is your kind of take on it all?
We did have the supplement. We did have, again, theatre companies, they were given, I think, budgets in order to give us a hybrid version. So there was some help. What we lacked was guidance. People, we knew when restaurants were going to open. We knew when hotels were going to go back to normal with tourists coming in. We know that shops are able to open again, but nothing for theatre. So that is why the petition was there. It is a call for arts. Give us a plan. Give us a heading. What are we going to do with our life and where are we going?
Do you think then people here or in general don't take arts seriously?
It's always been an issue. Even at school, it's an extracurricular activity. When you tell someone that you're an artist, his reply is, yeah, hasra. It's like, oh, I'm sorry for that. As in, most of us are not in it for the money.
Right.
We're lucky that we get to do our childhood kind of hobby as work and we get paid for it. We are again playing dress up, we're role playing characters. Just when we were children, we would role play cartoon characters. Now we can role play ministers, we can role play murderers. We are chameleons. We can become anything if we're paid for it.
Right. And how was the art scene before all this hit? Was it a good art scene? Was it a thriving art scene, or were there struggles with
2019 was a fantastic year. There were a lot of shows, there was a lot of work, and in fact, when the pandemic hit, I'm like, this might last 3 months. That's a well-needed break. It would be nice to rest. But then it felt like, okay, will we ever go back to how 2019 was? Obviously, 2018 was Capital City of Culture, so that kind of gave it a boost. And 2019 was just full. Shows were happening on every weekend almost, and even up to before lockdown. In fact, before lockdown, the week before, we had just finished an opera at the Manuel. So even that to us was a shock. We went from such a big show with such a lovely audience, a full theatre, which to us now, to get, okay, the Manuel capacity is 600. To fill it nowadays, maybe with 200, it's a full house, but it's not a full house. It does not feel like a full house. So it was a thriving scene back in 2019. Then again, people try to adapt, people try to support, but if a show is online, people will not react to it in the same way, especially if it's film. A filmed version of a theatrical performance is not the same. It's not a movie. Again, it's a play. You just have a camera, you're filming there, and that's it. So there is also that lack, that the motivation, even from the audience's side, that I don't want to watch that, I don't want to see that, because it's
not the same
not
experience.
Exactly, it's not the same.
So it's kind of want to end on a final note here. I mean, there's some measures are in place temporarily, right? Like the capacity, the maximum capacity and whatnot, and that will be in place until this pandemic is gone for good. Are there some things you think that we'll never go back to? The way people's mentalities change, or the way people look at the arts, or how artists are. Do you think there's some things that we'll never go back to in terms of that pre-COVID time to what the art scene will look like in a few years' time?
Well, I think it's too early to say. But again, if we look at the pandemic of 1919, it kind of then triggered the Art Deco style, the Roaring '20s. And I think we're headed towards that.
So there's an optimism that the next few years is going to be a resurgence in the arts and culture.
Yes, hopefully now people are tired of staying at home.
Yeah.
I am tired of staying at home. So they just want to go out, they want to enjoy it, they want to have fun. Hopefully now they'll do it in a responsible way, because we've had people throw parties, which is quite irresponsible given the situation that we were in. So now hopefully people will learn and guys, look, let's take this final step. Let's be good. And maybe we'll go back to being normal. We'll remove these masks, we'll hug again, we'll do proper handshakes and stuff like that.
So a sense of optimism, you know, that eventually things will go back to normal. The art scene might even be better than it was in 2019 with a resurgence of
Wishful thinking.
Wishful thinking, but that's the way to go, I suppose. I'd be optimistic about the future. Jeremy, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
It's been a pleasure talking to you. And for everyone who tuned in, have a day full of lovin'.